We got it, Dr. Anvarizadeh. We can let the people in.
Thank you, Dr. Hoyt. I appreciate it. All right. So COTAD is an organization I'll just give you a little history. So there were a few of us who were in the Emerging Leaders Program. And it was a program that AOTA had at the time, and they connected you with a AOTA leader. And it was a time when the Centennial Vision was, I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with the Centennial Vision because it's Vision 2025 now, but the Centennial Vision had pieces like evidence-based and science-driven and meeting a diverse workforce and societal's global needs. And so there was a few of us who were saying, hey, what is this piece right here, this diverse workforce piece? And do we feel that by our centennial, 2017, will this be accomplished? So me, Dr. Hoyt, and a few of the other founders were sitting at a table, and Dr. Amy Lamb, who was the president at the time, said, hey, why don't you guys do a presentation about it? And they told the wrong people to do that. So we did a presentation at a conference, was it 2013, 2014? I can't even remember anymore. And from there, everybody started coming to us about their diversity questions, anything related to diversity. And so we knew that there was a need. And so from there on, we decided to do everything grassroots, and we created COTAD, and COTAD was becoming very big, and everybody wanted us to work on diversity, and so we had to figure out what was our mission and what was our vision. And then we also created different pillars within COTAD. And sorry guys, my PowerPoint continues to get stuck. Okay, so then we created different pillars within COTAD, and one of those pillars was, how do we get students engaged? How do we get students having these conversations about diversity, inclusion, equity? And that is the COTAD chapter piece. It's our student engagements piece. It's our opportunity to give these safe spaces and again, opportunity for students to become leaders around what they're passionate about, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's kind of where the COTAD chapters is looped into the family of COTAD. And Dr. Hoyt will speak to you a little bit about the other pillars of COTAD, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of some of the history. And now we're officially a nonprofit. We had our first strategic plan meeting and COTAD retreat this past year in Vegas. So it's been booming and it's been growing, and we are so excited to have all of you join us today. So with that, I just want to do a brief welcome, say thank you for taking your time on a Saturday to participate with us. I know that all of you are students, and it has been a virtual land for all of you guys right now. And to add another Zoom call, we understand, and we want to just give you guys all the love and encouragement as we're all kind of navigating these virtual worlds, virtual classrooms, virtual meetings all day, every day. And we are very grateful for all of you guys joining us today. So with that being said, I'm going to have Dr. Hoyt share with us a little bit about our vision, mission, and some of our updates.
I was about to start talking and realized I was still on mute. I've done that so many times. Good morning, good midday, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, as Dr. Anvarizadeh was saying, for taking your time to join us today. I hope that all of you are able to stay healthy, and your friends and family are able to stay healthy and reasonably getting through this difficult time. I'm sure that some of you have experienced some losses or challenges, or have had friends or family affected by COVID-19, and so we want to extend our arms to you in a virtual hug. And if any of you need anything, there are all of COTAD is here, and we're more than happy to talk with you or do whatever we can. We can't do everything, but we can be a listening ear if you need it. So please feel free to reach out to us, and I'm sure you all have faculty members that are willing to be there for you too. So know that your occupational therapy family is alive and well on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and would love to be there to help support you. To add on to what Dr. Anvarizadeh was saying, COTAD we started in 2014, so we're 6 years old now. For our 5th anniversary, we became a 501c3, which means that we're an official nonprofit, which is pretty exciting. There's some meaning that goes alongside with that, in that we can accept donations now and people can write that off. It can be tax exempt. And that we are able to do a little bit more in terms of engaging with universities and other types of programs. And so with that, this year, we also launched our COTAD community project and things like that. One thing I wanted to add about COTAD is that the way that we started, as Dr. Anvarizadeh said, was truly grassroots. We were all just kind of hanging out and saying that, you know, it'd be cool if people had more exposure to the diversity that already exists within occupational therapy, and if we had greater conversations about this topic so that more people would join the profession and understand that there is a diverse network here and people that want to help that thrive. And so those first few years, we were really embracing what each of our passions were and developing on that. As we've grown as an organization, we've accepted many new members. We've had lots of people volunteer and engage with us in a variety of different ways. We did have to kind of consolidate all those passions into a few different pillar areas. Sorry, I'm not sure where to go. I see the slides moving. And whoops. Okay, well, so we recently revised our vision, and the vision of COTAD is a future in which occupational therapy is accessible, inclusive, and effective for all. And so what we mean by that is that we hope that we can help create the future of our profession that is diverse and reflective of the communities that we serve, kind of echoing the vision, the centennial vision, and that we are able to use those strategies to help all people, regardless of our backgrounds, so that we can be culturally humble and embrace all people into our field. I see there's a couple people waiting to get in. If somebody can manage that. Can we move on to the vision? I'll be quick. Sorry, I think I just did way too long of an introduction of what COTAD was. I didn't even introduce myself. Terrible. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Whoops. Well, here we are. This is fine. Our mission and vision are on the website. So if you want to know more about COTAD, it's all there. Or you can email our COTAD email, cotad2015@gmail.com. You can email me. My name is Catherine Hoyt. I'm a researcher. I'm technically currently a research postdoc at Washington University. So I'm pretty easy to find there too. Our mission is to empower occupational therapy leaders to engage in practices that increase diversity, equity, and inclusion for a more transformative occupational therapy profession, with the same identity as the vision. So just to let you know, our COTAD leadership has grown substantially in the past few years. We have people that have joined us that have recently graduated and were leaders of their COTAD chapters. So we hope that all of you as current students and leaders for our profession and for the future of our profession, that you can continue to be involved and hopefully join us on our board at some point and help us with all of the activities. Just to make sure everybody knows, I'm Catherine Hoyt. I'm the chair. Arameh Anvarizadeh is the co-chair and the coordinator of the COTAD chapters, as I think all of you probably know. Christina Reyes-Smith is the COTAD Ed co-chair, and she was recently elected to the board of directors for AOTA, so we're very proud of her for that accomplishment. Stacy Wilson is our treasurer and heads up some of our advocacy campaigns and helps us plan the annual breakfast. We hope that you'll be able to join us next year in San Diego for our 7th annual breakfast. Lauren Jones manages our website and the COTAD Courier. If you have gone to the website and registered for our email list, then you will get that 4 times a year, once a season. The most recent one came out last week. If you want it, just let us know, we can forward it. It's also on the website under the blog tab. Adam Pearson is our interprofessional collaborator. Jordan Sklaransky manages our volunteers. And then other members of our board include Megan Lambert, Lexi Rebney, Nadine Quebechu, Michelle Finet, Michelle De Jesus, Helen Valencia, Kalia Johnson, Emily Sherman, and Devlin New. Can we move to the next slide? Thanks. I'm gonna wait for those to, whoops. So we have a bunch of ongoing initiatives that I think some of you may be familiar with. We do have a toolkit for promoting workforce diversity in occupational therapy. We have a minority mentorship program, which is designed to support students or new grads, that if you're interested in being involved in that, email cotad.mmp@gmail.com, or you'll see it on the website. There's lots of information. Megan Lambert and Helen Valencia head that up. The COTAD chapters, as I think you all are familiar with, there's the quarterly newsletter that I just mentioned, and we are working on a minority recruitment pipeline with the guidance of Stacy Wilson, and the annual breakfast at AOTA conferences with a keynote speaker from somebody in the field. This year was for Alicia Gibbs, who's the scientific officer at AOTF and currently transitioning to AOTA. Can we move to the next slide? Oh, thank you. We've had a pretty significant history in COTAD, and it was a lot of rapid growth. So just to quickly run through this, you know, we did start in 2014, but within a couple of years, we had gained a lot of traction and visibility with our national organization. And AOTA invited Christina Ray Smith, myself, and Arameh Anvarizadeh to speak at the Academic Leadership Council in San Diego about the need for increasing discussions surrounding diversity and ensuring that our educational curricula and our continuing ed and our workforce are representative and diverse and inclusive. And then heading on from that, we have had quite a number of presentations every year at AOTA. We've had several poster presentations, pre-conference institutes, and other types of discussions. I think I'm talking too long, aren't I? I'll move. We can go to the next slide. I don't know. So just really quickly, so you all know, we have 35 current active COTAD chapters, which is pretty amazing. I'm not sure, can't remember the exact number, but I believe we're at about 200 OT programs in the country. So 35 is a really good percentage, and there's 4 in process. We're looking to, of course, always increase that. So if anybody has any friends at other programs that are interested in starting a chapter, please reach out. We had 75 attendees at our virtual COTAD Ed lunch a couple weeks ago. There's currently 56 dyads in the Minority Mentorship Program, and this year's inaugural COTAD Community Project raised over $700 from the COTAD chapters for Rosie's Place and developed over 500 wellness kits for women. Next slide. Now I'm going to give it back to Dr. Anvarizadeh to discuss some of these things.
Thank you, Catherine. Dr. Hoyt, thank you so much. We just want you guys to understand a little bit of the history of our organization. So we're going to get to the discussion part soon, but we want to share some really awesome news that Western New England University was the chapter that won the COTAD chapter challenge, which was how much will you donate for our COTAD community project, which was supposed to be in Boston during AOTA, but we were still able to deliver the wellness kits, which is exciting. Western New England University was able to create a total of 53 OT wellness kits. So we want to give them a round of applause and really recognize their dedication, their efforts towards participating in the COTAD chapter challenge. And we also had our second annual COTAD Chapter of the Year award that we gave out during our COTAD Live event a few weeks ago, which is Northern Arizona University. We're so excited about the work that all chapters do. And it was very challenging this year because we had several people who were nominated. And so we had a whole committee reviewing, and we're happy to say that Northern Arizona University, where our co-host Alejandra Arroyo is as the chapter chair at. So congratulations to Northern Arizona University, and we look forward to people, other chairs at other chapters next year nominating themselves for the award. So with that being said, we are going to go into our small group breakout, and we're going to have Alejandra share a little bit about what we're going to be discussing and how this is really going to work. This is going to be the fun part, and we're excited to share this with you. So Alejandra, if you're ready, I'm going to switch to the next slide so that you can share a little bit more about what we're doing.
Hi everyone, are you guys able to hear me? I think so. So the small group breakouts, the whole idea for this event today kind of came from the COTAD virtual conference that happened a couple weeks ago. And a lot of students were there, which was great. We were able to really connect and start talking, but all of us kept saying, you know, we wish we had more time to start talking and really get more in depth with these conversations, and connect was a big thing. We wanted to create those connections and get to know each other, because we're each other's biggest support system for sure. So that's where this whole event came from, the whole idea came from. So in your small breakout rooms, which will be assigned shortly, we have, you're gonna have about 5 to 6 people. You're gonna identify a recorder or someone to just kind of take notes, and then a spokesperson for your group. You'll each introduce yourself, your schools, what year of the program you're in, the typical introductions, and then the big discussion points that we'd love for you guys to talk about. And of course, it can progress from there if you guys get through all the questions. But the big discussion points we have for you guys are to share maybe up to 3 challenges that you guys have been experiencing with your academic programs related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Discuss potential strategies and solutions to those challenges, and share 1 potential goal for yourself to move towards the Vision 2025 for all people. So a big thing that we noticed with our groups was that we could definitely talk about some of the issues that we've been experiencing, whether it's through our programs or with the areas that we're in, but definitely moving on to that strategies and solutions part is so important. We saw that we were able to really turn the conversation around to a positive perspective and really make it constructive, rather than just talking about maybe what's not going well, although it is totally necessary to talk about those things. It's really helpful to kind of move forward from that. And we were able to give each other great ideas when we did this last time. So I really encourage you guys, if you want to, I recommend maybe taking a screenshot of, if you're able to, of the pictures, just because when you go to your breakout rooms, you won't be able to see the questions. So I found that helpful. And we can add the questions to the chat, hopefully, if we're able to.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to break you guys up into groups, about 5 or 6 participants, and we're going to put you in the groups for about 35 to 40 minutes. And then we're going to bring you all back to discuss these points together. So you guys can introduce yourselves with each other when you're in these groups, and then choose who will be your point person to speak when we come back. But it'll be a very rich and interesting discussion. So what I'm going to do right now is break us all into groups. So give me a second to do that. And in the meantime, Alejandra, you could keep sharing or chatting, and I'm going to put myself on mute.
Yeah, so at the last, again, at the COTAD virtual conference that was, I can't remember what day it was, but it feels like it was an eternity ago. We really had the opportunity to share with one another and create connections. And I've actually kept emailing with some of the individuals who were in my group. So share emails, talk amongst one another, create those connections. We did a social media follow chain in the chat as well. So maybe we could do that at the end. It helps, being able to see each other on social media, see what initiatives we're doing. I personally follow what I hope is all of the COTAD chapters on social media, because I think it's really exciting to see what people are doing out there. It's encouraging. There's a lot of really great diversity-focused social media accounts as well. I know Michelle, she has her own great page, and I love following her page. So I definitely recommend you guys do that. Maybe we could do that at the end, is put each other's social media, and then if you want to share your emails amongst your group, I always recommend that. And it's a great support system for sure. I believe someone raised their hand. If that was in regards to the question, or if you still had a question, let me know.
Alejandra, I had posted in the chat to raise your hand if you are a prospective student, or if you're somebody who's about to enroll in an OT program, just so we can know who's a current student and who's coming. Raise your hand in Zoom. It'll put a little blue hand on the corner of your video for us to see. I also put the questions in the chat.
Thank you, Catherine. Dr. Hoyt, thank you. Yeah, and if you're not, I know sometimes Zoom can get a little finicky. If you're not able to raise your hand, maybe comment in the chat, because I'm sure the conversations will look very different. So I'm glad we'll hopefully be able to put you guys together so you guys can have a great discussion with one another. And then I believe what the idea is, myself and some of the other COTAD executives will be kind of jumping around and checking in with you guys. But if you have any questions, I believe you can still chat with us, with the whole group, even once you're in your breakout rooms. So just let us know if you have any questions or if you'd like some input. We're here to support, and I'll try to join one of the groups for sure myself. That's great. There's a lot of incoming students. You guys are in for a great experience. Personally, I'm a second year student, so it's been great so far. And especially if you're getting to have this, you start your experience with COTAD. That's pretty great. I think we're getting Dr. Anvarizadeh some time to put us all into breakout rooms. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Maybe while we're waiting for breakout groups to get assigned, whoops, maybe, does anybody have any questions or anything that they'd like to ask or make sure that we address?
Hi, my name is Marilyn Rodriguez, pronouns she, her, hers. I was wondering if it would be possible to have people maybe rename themselves and add their pronouns within their name. I just want to make sure that I'm addressing people within the breakout rooms with their appropriate pronouns and preferred pronouns.
If anybody would like to do that, thank you for bringing that up, Marilyn. Then please feel free to add that to your name. I think some people, I don't know how everybody's Zoom capabilities are. I know that I run mine through my university, so it can't really be changed.
Thank you.
You guys, I'm trying to work on these breakout rooms, I promise you, but keep chatting. Let's just kind of, this is how it goes. And it should be, are some people moving into breakout rooms right now? Does it look like it on your end?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna have to start this over, but keep chatting, keep giving suggestions, keep going. We're just gonna keep rolling with it, okay?
We'll get there soon. Maybe when you get into your breakout rooms, if you want to introduce yourself and then state your pronouns in your small groups, I think that would be a good way to maybe address that and make sure we're all addressing each other as we would like to be addressed. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments or things they'd like to mention while we're getting the breakout groups sorted?
I have a question. It's kind of a big one, but I think what I'm mostly looking for is resources to share with my department so that I don't have to be the one educating people all the time. And I think I need to learn more about like what COTAD is offering and like how to access those resources.
Thank you for bringing that up. So we do have, like the main components of COTAD are the COTAD Chapters program, the Minority Mentorship program, and
Sorry, you're breaking up, Kat.
COTAD Ed. We do
Hey, Kat.
definitely have a lot of resources linked on the website, but not necessarily training manuals or for every. However, we do have a lot of resources that'd be helpful for your specific needs. Does that help?
Yeah, I'll review the website and see what I can find. Thank you.
If it's not helpful, email us. Looks like everybody's going into the breakout rooms now. I see it happening.
everyone. Hi, everyone. I think you guys are in my breakout room, but I'm going to remove myself out so that it could just be students chatting with each other. How about that? I think Narisha and Alicia.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm going to see if I can try to remove myself out of the breakout room. This is such an interesting thing. And put you guys in another breakout room or take myself out so that you guys can be with other students as well. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, so you guys could introduce yourselves, but then, you know, you might be leaving. What breakout room are we even in? Do you guys remember what number we're on?
So this is asking me to join breakout room 7.
Okay, join it. Narisha and Chelsea. Hey, Emma. Hi, Elsa. Hi. I think what group are you supposed to, oh, you're supposed to be in a group 9, huh?
Yeah, I had to adjust my settings because my video and
Okay.
audio were like locked.
Okay, cool. So is it moving you to the group?
Yeah, I think I just pressed the join group.
Okay, cool. And let me know. Okay, cool. And Emma, you good?
Yeah, would you mind assigning me to group 5?
Sure.
I was there and then I had to restart my computer, so I feel
Okay.
bad. I told him I'd be right back.
Okay, let me find you in here and let me move you to group 5. Okay.
Thank you, sorry.
You're welcome. Did it work?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, see you later. Oh my goodness, you guys. I didn't even get to go through all the groups because you guys were having some serious conversations. I think I made it to group 6, 5, and that was it. So I apologize for the other 5 groups. Oh my God, people are still coming back in. This is, Alejandra, get ready because I feel like we're gonna have a bomb conversation in a second. I'm letting everybody join back in from the main room. You guys have stayed on. We still have over 50 participants. This is powerful. I don't want to share the screen quite yet. I want to see everybody, and I feel like it's better that way. So I do know that I put the chat, the questions in the chat too. So we'll just use that for now before we share the screens. But welcome back to the main room. First of all, how was your guys' discussions? Unmute yourself if you want to chat. You guys need to woosah it out. I guess it was heavy. Was it powerful though? Nod your heads. Yeah, and maybe, you know, when you think about these things, like you need more time because like 40 minutes is like when it's just starting to get good, right? So we'll talk about that at the end of how we want to continue doing series like this and having other conversations. But how about, Alejandra, what do you think? How about we go through different groups and maybe you guys can summarize in a few minutes what you guys discussed and we can start just talking about it. I know I just left a group and conversations about microaggressions came up. I was in another group that conversations about imposter syndrome seemed to come up. So a lot of different topics were coming up that we can discuss and we can address, and together as a community come up with resources and tools to empower you guys to be just as grassroots as your organization in your programs and your universities. So which group wants to go first, or should I just say group 1 go first? I mean, hey, I don't want to call on y'all. I might have to call on y'all.
I can speak.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so group 1, if you remember your breakout group, if whoever is the spokesperson, please feel free to start sharing a little bit of what your group discussed, what topics came up, and feel free to share. This is your time.
I can speak. To be honest, I'm not sure what group I was a part of, so I don't know if it may have been group 1. I don't know.
Okay,
but
so
I can talk
group.
just to kick us off.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you. And I just want to let you guys know she's one of the newest chapter chairs with JP. So we're very excited at MGH, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and they were going to host our COTAD breakfast in Boston this past year. So we welcome you to the family, and please share, Alejandra.
Okay, sure. So I can just speak briefly about what our group talked about. Some of the stuff that we talked about, which I'm sure has been a theme, was just like the lack of diversity that we see both with students and with faculty and staff at our schools, how we want to try and increase that and how we can kind of support making that happen. Something else that we talked about was how we can advocate for maybe like changes in curriculum, like something that came up was like case studies, trying to advocate for a more diverse set of case studies, and then how we like what the proper way to deliver like information like that would look like, what that would look like as at our individual institutions, and how to be advocates for that.
That's excellent. You know, one of the things that we have too is COTAD Ed, which is the educators piece of our organization. And that really helps focus on how do we increase diversity and equity inclusion in curriculum, in publications, in faculty, in what faculty are teaching. And I'm very excited to say that we are developing a case study library for this point. And even another Alejandra, the NAU Alejandra, will potentially be working with us with her capstone to help develop these case studies. Because oftentimes we're in class and we hear the same case studies, right? And we're like, wait a minute. So to be able to add more diversity, inclusion, equity in how we're learning and what case studies we're reviewing is something that we're really focused on. So if you would like to join in, let us know. It's hopefully something we plan to publish and to provide to faculty to help with this in the curriculum. So we understand that. And it's something powerful when there's diverse faculty. Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else, Alejandro, or your group was off the chain, so I had to, they were good.
I think that were the main themes. Anybody feel free to chime in if I miss anything, but those are the two big ones that we talked about.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Stay tuned for the case study library. Okay, anybody else? Just whoever wants to chime in, doesn't have to be in order. If you don't know your group, that's fine. Just represent for your group.
Our group can go.
Okay, cool.
Hi guys, I'm Nikki from Northern Arizona University. And so I'm just gonna go next because it kind of leads off of what that other group was talking about. We also talked about the lack of diversity within the program, especially like demographic wise. We would love to see more people of different backgrounds. And we also talked about how there's a lot more females than males. Of course, we're moving in the right direction. It seems like there's more males within every new cohort that comes along. But we also talked about how we can reach out and reach out to males and letting them know that this is an opportunity for them as well. Some of the goals or ideas that we thought of to kind of help in these situations was possibly some kind of mentorship program where we can reach out to first generation students and help them in the process of how they can apply to OT. One of the members in our group, when we were speaking, was able to mentor somebody as she was trying to figure out how to apply for OT school herself. And we talked about how she's in the right program because she was really advocating for somebody else and helping them get to do what they want to do. So she's definitely going to be a really good OT. But really doing that to help first generation students or students that maybe they're not a first generation student, but they're kind of figuring this out on their own. They don't have any help from anybody else. So we think that would be a good idea. And then maybe some kind of like OT fact sheet that tells people in community colleges like what occupational therapy is, how to apply, and then some like financial aid resources so they can answer the questions just right off the bat, and then maybe on their list some contacts for how they can get direct mentorship from somebody to actually get into some kind of OT program.
And I believe, you know, Alejandra from MGH was talking about something similar about creating a mentorship program too. So this is a thing that's powerful that you guys can also connect from here to continue these conversations, because mentorship we know is key. And mentorship is something that's critical and important. I believe everyone should have a mentor, which is also one thing that we have is the minority mentorship program, which is specifically geared towards minority mentors, as we saw the need for something like this. So if you're interested in identifying mentors or learning about ways to create a mentorship program, we would love to help tell you some of our strategies and what we did to create this minority mentorship program. So for sure. You guys are right on track. Who else?
I guess I can just piggyback off of that. So I'm Maribel. I'm from Hofstra University. We currently do not have a COTAD chapter, but I've been advocating for one for a while, since like the virtual conference. So some of the things we have talked about are just like the fact that like OT does seem to be a predominantly like white profession, as far as like as far as like student body is concerned. We were having discussions of like, you know, how do we break the mold? Like, how do we sort of like break the ice when talking about issues of like diversity, equity, and inclusion, because it's just something that not a lot of people are very comfortable talking about openly. So some of the things that we were thinking of, as far as like ideas were concerned, I know like JP mentioned that there was like a virtual health profession day, or I forget exactly who mentioned that there was a virtual health profession day, but to like reach out to prospective students, in addition to like mentoring. I think it was JP who mentioned that like they were planning on like an outreach and mentorship with like even middle school and like high schoolers, which I thought was like really cool. As far as, and then like there was another issue of like, you know, how do we work with other cultures like in OT? Like we mentioned like the diverse case studies, maybe having like a culture class and like OT, and then just like a little section where you just bring up like, you know, difficult conversations that people would have like in the OT profession. Like what would happen if a client was like biased against like whatever factors like you identified with. So those were the kind of things that we mentioned. As far as like a personal goal of mine is to try to bring these things to my SOTA in my program, but it's just a matter of how can I implement it, especially since I'm like leaving so soon. Like my fieldwork my level 2 actually starts in May. So that's pretty much like I think we pretty much touched upon everything we talked about. So
Yeah, you know, it seems like a lot of chapters are doing a lot of outreach to junior highs and high schools. And that's really important because, you know, that's where the mentorship can begin. And that's how we can start introducing individuals from different backgrounds to occupational therapy. You know, I didn't find out until I was a sophomore in college. You know, I was going to be a neurosurgeon. I would have totally missed it, the opportunity. And, you know, I think that happens to a lot of individuals. But if we can start young, and even we forget about what the junior colleges are powerful too, because that mentorship, you know, you still have to, in junior high, you still got to go to high school, then undergrad, and then get your master's. But junior colleges, we can also reach out to educate them about occupational therapy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, you know, when we're talking about diversifying not just the cultures that we're reaching out to, but also the SES communities that we're reaching out to, going to community colleges with students who, you know, I went a couple of years to community college, and I think there were so many people around me that were so motivated to do something. They just hadn't found that occupation that they wanted to focus on, and bringing it to their attention could be so powerful. And yeah, and those are great ideas.
Yeah. Anybody else chime in? You know, this could be open discussion. You know, we could just keep on going. You know, we could chat as much as we want. These are the spaces that we need when we're thinking about these things on our own and feeling alone in these thoughts and conversations. This is a time where we have a sense of community to really start chatting. So whoever else wants to go next, feel free. And everyone else could chime into the conversation.
I'll go.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey. Hey guys, I'm Michelle. I'm an occupational therapist as well as a newer board member of COTAD. Yay. So I was paired with some awesome students from all over the US. We had Indiana, Ohio, and California, and they brought up some super awesome points and pretty much mirrored what you guys were saying about the lack of diversity in their programs. Some of the barriers that they talked about where there was very little interest in the topics of diversity and inclusion because their universities weren't necessarily the most diverse to begin with, lack of faculty support, lack of events addressing diversity and inclusion. And there's actually one student that said that her university was actually very diverse in California. And we really liked how in her university, when they were in the orientation and in the beginning, they would go around and ask everyone what their preferred pronouns were and what they wanted to be addressed as. So just simple steps like that, they're actionable steps that made a huge difference. And I think that that's something simple that most universities can mirror and that they can do to help, you know, it's one simple step that can really make a difference and to make someone feel validated. So that's one thing that we talked about. Another thing was we were talking about creating like a diversity panel. So they don't really know what the needs are in a university for like a faculty that's unaware of the need of diversity inclusion unless the students really have a voice. So creating a diversity panel of the students, even throughout all the health professions, and having them have a voice at the university and talking about what needs are on campus, I think that's a good first step. I actually had something like that at my university when I was a student. We had a student of each profession, OT, PT, PA, and we all talked about what our programs lacked in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and how we can make it better. So basically this discussion, but at the university level. And that made a huge difference because people were starting to talk about it. And one more thing is Emma brought up a really good idea about how these universities with little diversity, it's hard to have a voice and to speak up when you are one of very few people and you lack the support to be able to speak up against things that happen to you, like microaggressions, as well as advocating for events like this. And if you don't have the support from your classmates and from the faculty, how you can feel supported. So Emma, if you want to speak more about that.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit about microaggressions and how, you know, you can take and you can take and you can take so much, and then you never know like when is too far or when something is worth reporting or worth bringing up as an issue because you're cut down so often. And I'm saying that as a white person because I see it from my friends and I see it with race and with other diverse identities, and it's just very hard to stand up for yourself. And so I struggled with seeing my friends not be able to stand up for themselves or to speak out, and not necessarily wanting to represent their minority identity, especially if they're the only one. And so I was wondering if maybe it would be a good idea for COTAD chapters or schools to somehow, or the wider COTAD to somehow implement some sort of anonymous reporting thing that it could go through your COTAD committee so that they, you know, could have the concerns voiced, but not necessarily from yourself. And you could do it to stand up for your friend, or you could do it, you know, for yourself or that kind of thing. And not only at a wider level, but maybe it's just tiny little microaggressions in your cohort or in your class or by your professors, and it doesn't feel comfortable or big enough to like report to the whole university. So I didn't know if that would be a good idea for something that COTAD could do about like topics that maybe need to be addressed and they don't know, maybe the board doesn't know needs to be addressed or things like that.
I just want to provide a quick comment to make sure everybody sees this or knows this. Most universities actually have a diversity and inclusion office, and many have an anonymous bias reporting system. We've tried that within COTAD a few years ago. The difficulty is that when we're outside of somebody else's university and system, there's a lot of different barriers that exist in trying to address that and directly support a student in a culture and a community that we may be unfamiliar with and not know exactly what the resources are or what's going on. I don't know if Dr. Anvarizadeh or Dr. Lancaster, who are at different universities, maybe have different opinions than me, but my first suggestion would be to look at your individual school and see what resources exist, because many do have some.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like if it's like a big issue or worth reporting or that kind of thing, but sometimes there are so many little things within your program that you wish you knew, you know, your COTAD committee could hold an event to address, or, you know, something little that keeps happening that maybe you don't feel comfortable standing up for yourself. So I don't know, it was just an idea to put out there.
Thank you for sharing both, Emma and Dr. Hoyt. That's a great comment and something that we really need to discuss. But also, this has made me have an idea. This is something also because Dr. Hoyt mentioned it's mostly individual programs and they have their own diversity inclusion office and anonymous bias reporting, that your faculty liaison, if you do have a chapter, this is one thing that you really can get your faculty liaison involved, because they are your COTAD chapter advocate. And this is where like they can help with the red tape or these kind of conversations. And hopefully there's more of a smaller trust there, like rapport there, to where you feel comfortable. Now, if you don't feel comfortable working with your faculty liaison, please feel free to come to me. But I think that will be your first start, because they can help you navigate how the system that you're in first, But this comes to a bigger conversation, and maybe we can have another one of these conversations, these series, just talking about microaggressions, because what you're talking about here is really microaggressions. And I did a presentation at our cultural centers with we have a Latinx Cultural Center and African American Cultural Center at our university. And I recently did something with undergraduate students about microaggressions. And I showed this video, maybe some of you guys saw it, but it's about like mosquitoes, right? And mosquitoes are biting and biting and biting. And this is an example of like how one person gets continuously bit, and doesn't know how to address it, how to respond. So to be able to provide the tools of how do you respond if you feel like you're experiencing a microaggression, if you don't want to be like the stereotype, and I don't want to react, how you were saying, Emma, in your group earlier, they were nervous, they didn't want to be considered a stereotype, to be like this angry, as you said, what the students said, if you don't mind me repeating it, angry Black woman reporting and being upset, and just letting the microaggression just be ignored. But what we really have to be is equipped to understand, how do we address microaggressions? And if you feel that you're an ally, how to support someone who is feeling like they've had experience a microaggression. And sometimes we don't even recognize when we are experiencing it, because we're so used to experiencing it, like, don't touch my hair, you know what I mean, type of thing. So there's so many things that we can discuss and equip individuals on how to deal with it and how to recognize if they are experiencing a microaggression. But yeah, if you guys are interested in something like that, let's host something and let's have these larger conversations, because I'll 100% can say that maybe many of us have experienced a microaggression, and it continues as you get older and in different, not older, but it continues as you become a therapist and you get in higher positions of power, you're going to continue to experience microaggressions. So to be able to be equipped with these tools now is something that's really important. I mean, I was just experiencing one almost a month ago, and I'm like, wow, and I even had to sit back and say, well, who do I talk about this with? Who do I, and it impacts your mental health as well. So these conversations, which your friend experienced and how you wanted to support her, Emma, is something that is very important, because you don't know how people are dealing with it on a daily basis and what kind of outlets they have to be able to share.
And to follow up to this whole conversation, it'd be great. Yeah, I think a lot of people are posting in the chat about possibly having like a follow-up conversation on microaggressions. And I think another thing, we took this idea from one of our COTAD quarterly calls. Someone said that what they do is they have safe space talks at their meetings, or just set safe space talks with their COTAD chapter members. And we started implementing that with our chapter. And I can't speak for everybody, but I think it really helped providing that space. Again, we prompt before the conversation, this stays in this room. This is a private conversation. This is amongst us. This is a safe space. If you want to cuss, cuss. If you want to talk about some really crappy things that have been going on, talk about it. And it did become a vulnerable space and this great moment of community. Because, some of our meetings have to be more formal, more business-like, but it gave us like a dedicated time just to talk about those things. And I think that helped too, because then we could see some kind of commonalities that were happening amongst the group. And then if we wanted to, we could create things, and, people immediately would start coming up with solutions and ideas for workshops that we could potentially do. So it's worked out really great for us. I think AJ.
Yeah, AJ has your hand up. Feel free to unmute. Hi, AJ.
Going back for a second to recruitment and getting more diversity in student bodies of one thing that I think WashU has just very recently begun to do, I think it's a newly forged partnership, is a partnership with a local historically Black college or university that does not have an OT program. So placing a particular avenue or sort of pipeline even to help make sure that people at that university know about OT and provide an avenue into the field, since the university they're already at doesn't have that particular program. So I thought that was a step in the right direction anyway.
Yeah, those are some intentional recruitment strategies and partnerships. For example, at USC, I recently created a partnership with Xavier University in New Orleans, which is also a historically Black university. It's a HBCU, and creating a summer institute so that we can bring these students who may not know about occupational therapy to our space, which it was supposed to be this summer, but don't get me started. But these are ways that we're forging these relationships and connections in a very intentional way, and being very strategic of how we're recruiting and where we're recruiting and who we're recruiting. And that's the steps to really increasing diversity. Say, we're here, we want to talk to you about, we want to share OT, we want to learn about, you know, what your interests are, and you're welcome. You know, you're welcome to be a part of this. I think when you're authentic and genuine like that, it's well received, and people will feel like, wow, I see myself in this profession. I feel like I can be a part of this, you know? So yeah, great conversations. And the chat is going wild. So yes, we will do something about microaggressions. I have made a note about that. But anybody else want to kind of chime in, continue? What were some challenges that you're facing in your university? Maybe some solutions that you guys discussed together, maybe just one of your goals. Keep going so that we can continue the conversation, because it's getting really, really good.
Something I really liked in our group conversation, I wrote down a bunch of quotes that my co-members said, so I'm gonna read them, so hopefully you don't
love it.
One thing was like to keep pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, and I think like that's something that I'm struggling to do, and I think just like having that written down is really helpful as a goal. And to like really just like zoom in and focus on the reality with questions like what is missing here, and like what do you want to change for the next year of incoming students, and like, how can we support other people and elevate their voice? Because I feel like my school's COTAD chapter, it just seems kind of vague in their intentions, and I really like that idea of like, okay, what are the actual like needs of our students? Like, what are our needs? And like the safe space could be a great way to get the roots for that, and then how do we address those specific ones?
Absolutely. And that's important to say and important to know, because you know you guys are all booming leaders and passionate about this work. So as you guys are collaborating and creating and developing your chapters, understanding what your needs are within your program, and really creating some measurable, you know, you guys are OT students, smart goals, right, around this work. And I always tell people who are starting chapters, document it, because we're all so passionate about this work that we lose sight of the outcomes that we're accomplishing. And that's what we need to do. We need to publish, we need to create evidence-based work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So thank you, Avi, for sharing that information about how do we make it more clear and intentional, you know. So go back to your chapter and share this. Anyone else, some challenges that they've been facing and some ways that they've been inspired throughout having these discussions today to address them?
I just wanted to speak on behalf of my group. I'm Rose. I'm from West Coast University. So we had a bunch of different views, because we had individuals starting their program, individuals within their program, and then also individuals already out in the OT field. So individuals that were starting and are in the program noticed that we are not addressing in classes maybe diversity in certain areas. So maybe we're looking at diversity with pediatrics, but not the diversity needed in maybe older adults or the homeless, which for a lot of us, especially in California, there is a really big need to address the diversity of individuals who are in those populations. And then we also saw that with not in school, but within the field, that we're having this gap with translation and the individuals that don't speak English and the resources that we may need to address that, and how we're doing that through telehealth. So getting those translators and individuals who only speak Spanish, and how do we address that, and how can we prepare for that as students so that we can meet the needs for individuals that we're serving.
Excellent. I'm just processing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking too much, but you I'm just processing what you're saying. You know, those language barriers. And I always taught my students, speak to the person, you know, not the translator, speak to the person, because it's a language barrier, not a cognition barrier or whatnot, right? So very important when you're thinking about telehealth and addressing all people.
And I do want to chime in. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
I'm Sarai, so I was the one in their group, and I'm actually an NAU alum. And so I'd been following the COTAD page, and I was like, I just want to join. Like, I've been so busy, and I didn't realize this was going on last minute. They asked me. And so they asked, I brought up the whole telehealth situation just because as a practicing OT, especially telehealth is all the craze right now. I'm the only bilingual and Spanish speaking person in my clinic. And so one of the challenges has been is like, how do we connect with our families through the screen? And a lot of the solution has been, since I'm the only Spanish speaking, like I get them on my caseload, but what if I wasn't there? So not even to exclude non-bilingual practitioners, because we have plenty of them and they are fully capable, but how are you going to prepare as a practitioner when you come up with that barrier once you're practicing and there is not someone? And how are you going to take the tools that you've learned, or you haven't had tools to help you deal with that situation where you're trying to educate especially in the pediatric field where a lot of education is like towards the parents, like how are you going to educate your parents to get follow through with home programs if your solution is to be like, oh, where's a therapist that can speak their language, And so it's really hard also taking that on as the only person in my clinic, but like, how can I help my coworkers, or how can we help students learn how to deal with those situations? An example of something that we've done in my clinic is even before teletherapy, like it's hard to explain home programs and like the purpose of OT. And so I help translate. We have these little sheets, and it's like a summary of what we did in the clinic. And so we have an English version and a Spanish version, and it has like check marks. Like we worked on fine motor skills, we worked on ADLs, this and this summary. And so we have a translated version in Spanish so that the therapists, if they are only English speaking, they can kind of check the boxes, and there's some kind of translation of what we did or what they did in the session. But what are some other tools as students that if you are non-bilingual, what can you do to better serve your parents and your families? And so it's a big deal right now, I think, because of the whole teletherapy, and so it's crazy to think that, oh, have these parents been actually like learning things, when you talk to them and when you send home programs and situations like that. But yeah, I just wanted to chime in.
No, that was great. Anybody else? I mean, let's talk about that, because that's huge, what you mentioned, especially going into telehealth, being able to do therapy, but also be able to address the different barriers that we're facing, and that might also be language. And if somebody doesn't speak this speaks to why it's so important to have a diverse workforce, right? And why representation matters. This is a whole conversation about that. And so anybody else experienced that or had thought about that, or when they go into the field, how, because I'm in LA, so we have like, if you got to know some Spanish up in here, and so you got to be able to connect. And how do you make that effort to do that? My first 8 years, I worked in Reseda, and that is a primarily, I had so many Spanish-speaking clients. I was speaking Spanish, and then I also speak Farsi because and I was speaking English. And after the day, my brain was exploding. But making the effort to do home programs in Spanish and making the effort to connect with your families is so critical for them to know that you are there for them first. That they can trust you. Dr. Hoyt, please chime in, because you've done a lot of work around this and have hosted presentations with Dr. Christina Araya-Smith, and talk a lot about the work that you've done to address this.
So I just appreciated that comment. I'm also the only Spanish-speaking OT in my area, and as something that I've done with students of mine, not everywhere does this. For a little while, we did a medical Spanish class for students who are interested at my university. But currently students who are interested are using Duolingo. But one of the things that I've advocated for is not everybody is going to be fluent in every language. That's just what's going to happen. Unfortunately, I don't speak any other language. I wish I spoke German, French, Farsi. I wish I spoke them all, but that's not possible. Well, I'm not very good at languages anyways. I've tried to add other ones. It's very hard for me. Maybe I'm old, I don't know. But one thing we can do is take the time to learn a couple of words, just to say hello, to say, I'm here for you, I'm trying, because at some point, probably everybody will be working with an interpreter, and learning some of those strategies of how can I work with an interpreter that's still prioritizing my client and not, like instead of interpreter, let the interpreter interpret, so that your client still feels that you're trying to make that connection with them. And if you can say like, hi, my name is such and such, or in their language, it doesn't take too long to learn 1 or 2 sentences just to say that I'm trying, I wish I could speak with you. I'm going to use this interpreter to help me to make sure that all of my ideas are getting across effectively. Please let me know however I can help. I think that there are things that we can do and that we can say and that we can try to do. And there's no need. The other thing that I like to say is there are a lot of resources that exist. There's a lot of resources in Spanish. AOTA even has some, but not in every language. So sometimes it does require recreating the wheel or creating it yourself. But sometimes just a little bit of internet digging or asking your friends, connecting with your COTAD networks, connecting with your other OT networks or other therapies, even like PT, speech, their websites also have materials. So taking some time to figure out what exists and how you can share that, so that people can feel included in their intervention and a part of what's going on. I think as occupational therapists, we really appreciate that the outcome is based on that relationship and on identifying what that individual finds meaningful and what they will help motivate them to achieve whatever their therapeutic goal is. And if we don't have the compassion to engage them, they're not as likely to be as invested in obtaining that outcome. So whatever we can do, I think is great. And reaching out to others who maybe have had similar experiences or have done something similar in the past can be very helpful, or even somebody from that background. That's something that I do a lot. If I have a client from somewhere that maybe I'm less familiar with or a different background, see if I have any friends that could help me understand anything that may be customs that I might not be familiar with.
Thank you, Dr. Hoyt. We have Marilyn with her hand raised. One of our newest COTAD chapter that just got started at USC. All the chairs are on here, Lamani, Daniel, and Marilyn. So Marilyn, if you would like to share, go ahead.
So one of the things that kind of has been helpful as in terms of peer-to-peer is having conversations with a couple of my friends who are kind of having these anxieties pertaining to the language barriers. I'm fluent in Spanish, so one of the things that we've tried to do within our virtual conversations now is me kind of leading our conversation and our dialogue in Spanish. And mind you, like I'm not going full blown like ordering a meal or saying like this is like I have pain or something like that, but just supporting peers of mine who are interested in learning a little bit about Spanish and kind of having conversations, very small conversations over the phone about that. I think it's helpful for them to kind of gain the confidence too, with being comfortable to say hello in Spanish, or even saying their name, or saying what occupational therapy is in Spanish. So I think I could put my email down in the chat. If there's anyone who just wants to have like a 5 to 10 minute conversation in Spanish, I'm more than happy and willing to do that. By no means am I going to be judging you, or vice versa. Like, I don't know every single word in Spanish either. So I think just building community in that sense is going to be helpful. So I'm more than willing to do that too.
That's awesome, Marilyn. I also wanted to add, my mom, she doesn't speak much English at all. And I can't tell you how much it means to her for someone to take a couple of, just to say a few words in Spanish to her, to even try and make that intent makes a world of a difference. Like, she just opens up. You can see her body language just changing, where most people, if they don't speak the language, like, oh, I don't speak Spanish. So they just kind of, just shun her almost in a way, like, or they look uncomfortable. But for the people that take that initiative to say a few things in Spanish to her, she just changes her whole perspective, and just her whole, just whole being has changed, because someone has taken that time and or made the intent to try. And I think that it's important for all of us to challenge ourselves in that way, because it's about connection. And, to make that connection, you have to try. And I think that it's not just for Spanish speakers, also for other communities, like for the LGBTQ community, asking pronouns and just taking that initiative when you're first introducing yourself makes a huge difference. That first encounter means everything. So if you can learn a couple words in Spanish, if you can include those pronouns, I think it makes such a world of a difference with your interactions from then on.
100%. You guys, we have some hand raised. Okay, we literally have 5 minutes. I cannot believe it. I'm telling you, we need more time, but I want to respect the fact that we're constantly on Zoom at this point, all day, every day. So here's the deal. We are passionate about this work, all of us, and so when we come on these videos and have these conversations with people who are like-minded, we feel a sense of like, yes, empowerment, right? But my challenge is for us to go now and utilize what we've learned today to say, how are we going to go back into our own respective programs and implement some of this grassroots work, right? How are we going to take some of this dialogue and the things that we know are challenges, the things that we discussed as some solutions, and really implement these? And if you guys have chapters, really have a conversations with your faculty liaisons. We can have some one-on-ones. You can utilize these conversations we had and really modify, create goals around this, right? So my challenge for you guys is, what are we going to do to take action, right? To take action in these areas and make the difference, right? And again, I told you the COTAD story from the beginning, just so you know, we weren't this huge organization. We just decided to take action and really walk our talk, or talk our walk, whatever you say, but that's what you guys can do. And my thoughts are that students, you guys are the future. You guys make me so proud, because I feel that you are lighting fire even up under faculty, right? To want to do this work, to want to be involved, to want to start having curriculum about diversity. So I want you guys to know that your work is making such a difference in the profession, because faculty everywhere are talking about COTAD chapter leaders and this and that, and we have COTAD chapters. And even if you're not a chapter person on this call, just know that there's a movement happening, and it's really starting with the work that you guys are doing. So I want you to be empowered about that, but I want you to feel that you can leave here to know that you have this community, but how are you going to utilize what you've learned as tools to go back into your program and try to implement it? That's what we're here for. We're here for that. So I do want to say that we would love to continue to have these conversations and maybe potentially share this email list of everyone who participated. So if you would not like your email shared, please let me know, send me an email, because we would like to share it on Monday so that you guys can continue building this community and having this camaraderie if you would like to, because the chat is going wild. So that means people want to stay connected. So if you want to stay connected, let us know. We would love to share the email list to everybody on Monday. If you don't want to be on the list, just let me know by Monday. Alejandra, do you have any final closing remarks that you would like to share before we end, or anybody actually? Does anybody want to say any final questions before final remarks before Alejandra closes a little bit? And nod your heads or something if you enjoyed this, put it in the chat. If you feel that we should continue to have conversations like this, maybe the next one we could organize around microaggressions. Okay, the thumbs are going up, the heads are going yes. All right, there's a need. I knew it, y'all. So let's do the next one. Whoever wants to co-lead the next one, everyone should have an opportunity to lead. Alejandra, you did a fantastic job. She just said at the COTAD Live we had a few weeks ago, hey, I want to continue having this conversation. And I said, hey, you want to lead it with me? And that's how it went down. So it's nothing extra. We just got on a call, we said, let's do it. So if you guys have ideas, if you want to lead, we want to empower you to be a leader and to feel like you can have these conversations. And we're just here to support and facilitate. So Alejandra, if there's anything anybody wants to say, closing last statements before Alejandra says anything, please let us know. We just want to respect your time, really. But you feel free to say any last things, anybody. If not, Alejandra, I'll just give you guys some time.
Yeah, I know, I'm waiting.
I know. Me too.
Well, like we said, we definitely want to respect your guys' time. I know sometimes by the end of the week I am zoomed out for sure, but thank you guys so much for being here. I think I can't emphasize it enough. I think this place, this space that's been given to us is phenomenal. I think we're in a very special place and a very special time that we have this opportunity to take on these spaces of leadership and really put our voice out there. Unfortunately, if you don't feel like you have that support system or that voice in your, physical space or in your school, please reach out to other COTAD people. Being in COTAD just almost a year ago has empowered me so much. I know some people, we were saying, our first year, we were so shy, we were so timid about saying these things, but having COTAD has really empowered me in so many different ways. And I know it's empowered a lot of us. And I'm big for, having your tribe, having your group of people that support you. And I think this is it. I think it's great that we have things like this and opportunities like this. I love social media. So if you also want to put in your social media in the chat, please do. I promise I'll follow. And hopefully you'll follow me back. But thanks you guys for being here and for supporting us. I mean, this is our first time doing this, and having 50 plus people here was great. It was great having this opportunity to talk to you guys, and hopefully the breakouts worked really well. Definitely give us any feedback. I'm sure any of us would be available if you have emails or feedback for maybe how we can improve the next student chat. That'd be great. We appreciate all of you for sure.
Yes, and you guys, Monday is coming. You'll probably be on a Zoom, another for class. You guys some are graduating, some are handling fieldwork changes, and we're here for that, and we understand. And then you're also trying to navigate your passions about diversity, equity, inclusion, and trying to be creative to host virtual events. So we're here to support you. We're here to empower you. We're here to encourage you. And we're just here to say, trust the process. Make it happen. You guys will be okay, and we're in this together. We are grassroots. You guys can make the changes that you want to see, and we will continue having these conversations. We just want to thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Hoyt. Thank you, Dr. Lancaster. Thank you, Alejandra. Thank you, Michelle De Jesus, who's running the social media while participating. Thank you to all 50 of you who stayed on, who stayed the course, who gave your energy. We thank you. Have a wonderful Saturday. It is hot in LA. I am sweating. Sending our love, our virtual hugs, and that's it. I'm out. That's it. Deuces. You guys saw our social media, so follow us. Do anything you know. You know what to do.
Thank you.
We out, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Thank
We have
you.
this recorded, so we're gonna put it on our social media, okay? So you can share with others.
Thank you, everyone.